This is Carl. And they're singing in unison, no harmony yet. Here we go.
Brought a big brown bag of them home. I jump up and down and
cool. Very cool.
Now right here, the harmony to dry.
I'm gonna keep well my vegetables card.
They're sitting right here in this bedroom singing to you. And there's
Dry meaning no reverb.
no reverb, no processing. This is them just naturally singing. This is how good it is.
That's all right, welcome back to the In My Beach Boys Room podcast. I am Adam Schreiner, sitting here with Matthew Hartz, and we are running through the Beach Boys albums from where are we at? Late 60s?
Yeah, 67.
What year are we in now?
1967.
67, okay.
Yeah, Smile happened over the 66, end of 66, and was supposed to be released in early 67.
Okay.
Was abandoned.
Okay.
In
April. Right. Which is, we went over all the Smile stuff in the last episode, doing Smiley Smile in this episode, which I'm very excited to talk about
too.
this, just because. Yeah, okay.
Don't say it.
Yeah, wait.
What's really cool is we're doing it pretty much in the wake of recording the Smile episode,
Yes.
and so you're
It's
all
fresh.
of that's fresh.
Yeah.
And I told you, you're going to have to pretend like as we're going through some of these out that you didn't. Because you're going to know parts of these next albums are part of Smile.
Right.
Some of the other people, when they came out, they didn't have that.
And that's actually, I almost wonder, it's an interesting time because someone like me who's going through, like, chronologically, going through their albums, I kind of wonder if it would be better to actually hear Smiley Smile first.
I don't.
Because
Well,
okay. Hold on. Let's pause this conversation. Let's do our stuff. Okay, yeah. See, we're already getting into this. Why I'm excited because I have some opinions about this.
You're awful smiling.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll go ahead and start Instagram. Matthew Hartz Music. You can follow him there. Facebook. You can just look up Matthew Hartz. Still.
Oh, and I wanted to say concerning both of those. Erin Carter from Portland, great fiddle player and artist. She has a new podcast called Fiddle Legends Podcast, and I forgot to even tell you about it. It was released a few days ago, the Matthew Hartz episode.
Oh, cool.
Which I'm the second episode. The first one was Westmoreland. But that's, if you guys want to hear me talk about learning how to play the fiddle and all that jazz,
So
and
then that's
a little bit of
strictly
Beach Boys stuff in there.
Okay.
But her podcast is called Fiddle Legends Podcast.
Okay,
and it just came out a couple of days ago, and it's on all the podcast.
All this. Okay,
platforms.
And you get into like kind of your.
Yeah,
fiddle,
she's coming at she's asking me about a lot of the fiddle stuff, but I also, just because it's about my early childhood and music, I mean, the Beach Boys get in there. Doesn't matter if they're talking to me about dump trucks or
Right. Your Beach Boys will get confused.
Yeah.
Then, is this podcast? It's like about like fiddle, like big names in the fiddle world?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I'm honored and humbled to be included. But, one of my heroes, Westmoreland, was the first episode.
Sure.
Anyway.
Okay, cool. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, definitely check that out if you want to hear more about Matthew's fiddle background specifically. And then, so getting back to In My Beach Boys Room podcast, obviously here on YouTube, like, subscribe, do all those things that help us. We really appreciate that. Every time you do that, helps our algorithm, helps the podcast grow. Sponsors. We had Shelly Graham. Thank you so much for your sponsorship.
And all the nice comments, Shelly.
Yeah. We really appreciate those. And also all the other sponsors that sent some money in, and especially in the little short amount of time that we have between these two episodes. And that's really, and that's really why, we just, our schedules don't line up all the time. And we know that you guys are excited when we put these things out and we see the comments and how much you guys like it. And we really do try to get these done when we have these windows of opportunity. That's why we're having these these next couple, we're gonna try to
Yeah, well,
hammer
we
out
literally recorded, didn't we record Smile last week?
Yeah. And so, you know, trying to get some episodes out quicker to you than than it's been over the last couple months, because we do have a window of opportunity where we both can you know, get together, and we only have 4
We're going to do
episodes.
4 more episodes. Because we'll remind them again that we started this full album analysis with Sunflower
in season 2.
And then it was a popular format, and I wanted to go back and do it with you. I felt like we just skimmed the surface when we went over the early or the 60s stuff before. And
we just really didn't know how, you know, we were still learning in that first season.
Right. Well, you got historical context, you got some of the music stuff, but now you've been able to listen to every song.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's really cool, you know?
Yeah.
So anyway, the idea is we're doing Smiley Smile today, Wild Honey, then Friends. And then I decided we're going to do Stack of Tracks paired with Live in London. And the big reason for that is Live in London was actually, it says Beach Boys 69 on the American version. It came out in, I think, 1970, but one of the concerts is taken from, one of the main ones is actually from a concert in 68 anyway. So, we've already covered the songs, right? But it's a different live format of the Beach Boys that's going to be fun for you to listen to. But that paired with Stack of Tracks, I think will make a nice episode, and then we'll finish this season with 2020.
2020.
So 4 more.
Yeah, 4 more, and then we will talk about the future of the podcast once we get to that last episode. So that's it. That's all the kind of housekeeping stuff. I think now we'll allow ourselves to get in to Smiley Smile. And I think I just want to pick up right away with what you were talking about, of having to listen to this as if I didn't already listen to the Smile sessions, so like Heroes and Villans, you know, all these Smile tracks, when they come out on Smiley Smile, this is the first time people, other than Good Vibrations, this is going to be the first time
Heroes and Villains was out as a single
it
for
was out
a
as a
couple
single?
months
Okay,
before Smiley Smile.
Yeah,
It was July 12th, I think, is when his astrologer said.
That was a question. And I can't say that I like this album and I think it has to do with because I listened to this other first.
Okay. Now I want to interrupt you for a second, because in some of my research on this, it's funny, in these later years, it's often been said by reviewers that Smiley Smile suffers from Smile preceding it. And it actually, people would enjoy it, you know, the expectation. Now, a lot of people hadn't heard it like you did,
Sure.
But even created with you hearing all this majestic stuff that he produced and everything like that, it even has more of a impact on you than hearing this version.
And I think it's just because I can't help but compare. I can't help but listen to it and go, God, I like the other version better. You know what I mean? I like the other version better. And then the new songs, they're I don't know, they're okay. You know what I mean? And so, I mean, I can see, because Smiley Smile, how did Smiley Smile do? How did it do?
I was gonna get into the
that?
chart
Okay.
numbers and stuff.
Just overview. How did okay? Did well?
It did very poorly in
really?
the U.S., but it did good in England.
Okay, because I could see it maybe back then doing better, but I guess maybe that's not the case.
Yeah. And my context on Smiley Smile is so weird compared to yours, because it was one of the earliest ones. After the first 3 albums, I think this is the next one that I got, because Mom found it at a yard sale in our neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And we didn't know what to make of it. And so I think my fondness comes from a lot of it. It was a childhood record for me, you know, and these versions were the first ones that I heard. I heard them for, God, how long did I heard the harpsichord version of Wonderful in like the early 90s. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I heard Smiley Smile Wonderful in the early 70s. So it was literally 20 years of hearing these versions on Smiley Smile before I heard some of what the Smile stuff was going to be. And
Right.
So I was like, wow.
Well, and that's why, like, I mean, Wonderful is a great example of like, wow, I love the Smile version so much better than the Smiley Smile version. And I can't wait for you to kind of get into the actual music and how the differences, because I mean, there's obvious differences that I can pick up on, but there's also like I'm kind of wondering more of the nuanced stuff that I wouldn't notice that you can get into, which I know you
We're
will.
gonna get into all that fun stuff.
I will have to say I love the artwork on Smiley Smile. I think this is up there for one of the my favorite albums that they are.
Me too.
I think it's cool. You can't really see it in the shot here, but you had a friend paint.
Well, I don't know if I had her paint. I think,
or she just did it.
Well, I think maybe I did have her paint the Smiley Smile and the Wild Honey thing. She did the Pet Sounds thing where she said she did. I had her leave it in that where actually the faces aren't finished. I don't know what you call that style. I don't know, but anyway, yeah, she's painted
and it's. I mean, I could see why, because it's such a cool album, album cover. So that's kind of where my sentiment is right now with this album. And there's been times when I've had a sentiment that I was like, it was okay. And then we get into this, you break down the music, and I'm like, actually, I'm a fan now. So we'll see what happens on this one, but I'll let you take it from here. That's just kind of my standpoint. And I don't, we'll see at the end of this, we'll revisit the idea of, if someone's just going through the Beach Boys catalog, do they listen to Smiley Smile first, or do they listen to Smile first and then see?
Yeah,
let's see. I want
because I labored with trying to figure out how to have you handle that.
I know, and I think you did it, which makes sense. But being the guy that experienced it, I wonder if it takes away too much from Smiley Smile. Yeah.
We'll see.
But let's see. Yeah, let's get into
it. I'll bet you further down the road, Smiley Smile grows on people.
Okay.
And I would say, but anyway, I'll get into what, Mike, Smiley Smile is, it's as if it was made in this room.
Yeah, that's
it's a very minimalistic album. It's in retrospect, a lot of historians are calling it the first. How many firsts do we talk about with Brian? The first lo-fi bedroom pop record ever. I mean, there's, and we'll even get into more of that. I want to talk about the fact that we had all of that. Smile, all of it. I mean, that's so much material, and you spend a year working on all that stuff, and then we get this.
Yeah.
What Carl famously called a couple years after the whole period, he said, Smiley Smile was the bunt instead of the grand slam.
Oh, what a great analogy.
Yeah. And then Carl, before Carl died, he did an interview. Was really because he was closest to Brian during all this, and Brian and Carl made all of the instrumental tracks together pretty much. I mean, you could pretty say it's a Brian and Carl record. I'm getting ahead of myself, but the other quote and this is just kind of heartbreaking, is Carl says that Brian came to him and said, "I can't do this." He said, it's just I can't do it anymore. We're gonna have to let's just do a homespun version of this stuff and just put it out. And Carl completely understood and went along and knew what was, because he also had inside knowledge on what the mental state was like, And so the other thing is there's an interview from about 1968 where Brian says, this is the moment where I decided not to try so hard. I decided, the quotes were something like, I decided not to try to do such great things. And I think because it was the amount of pressure it was putting on him. He figured I could still make this great music, but it doesn't have to be these great big things where I'm competing with the Beatles and staying in all these rap races and everything. It's everything I do. I have to one up everything. And so I came across that quote from Carl, and I thought, I hadn't heard it in a while, where he says, yeah, Bryant came to me and he says, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
We're just going to put out so Smiley Smile is literally a homespun version of a smile.
Yeah. And, that was one of my kind of notes is there are moments where it feels a little messy almost,
Yeah, well, it is, because they all got together. It's, Smile fell apart basically April, May, 67. And then Sergeant Pepper gets released. Brian moves out of the Laurel Way house, the house that had the sandbox and the tent and all that other stuff, all that craziness went on. And he wrote Pet Sounds and Smile. Marilyn wanted a bigger house, and so they moved into Bel Air, in that house that used to belong to Edgar Rice Burroughs, the guy that wrote Tarzan. And one of the first things was decided is, let's build a studio in here. And an engineer named Jim Lockhart, I think he was working with him at Wally Hyder Studios, but he put some equipment in there. It was very antique equipment. It was from an old radio station, or so it was old radio equipment. There's no notice on the tracks that are not good vibrations and Heroes and Villains. There's like no reverb. It does sound like it was recorded on a good cassette recorder.
Yeah.
But there's no processing, and so and literally. Jim Lockhart, he had to assemble this studio in a record amount of time. I don't know if they started putting up walls and stuff, but they at least got the equipment in there, and they didn't have any sort of a vocal processing thing. And so Brian, he says he had this damn near Olympic sized pool out in the back that had a leak in it, that we drained all the water out of it, and the guys laid down in the bottom of the swimming pool, and he set the mics up to get a natural reverb coming down from the sides of the pool.
Interesting.
And then they also set up a vocal studio in the shower in this new house to get some sort of ambience and some sort of effect on, that's really hammers and bolts, not nails, making shit work that never works together, I did want to say one more thing about sorry folks, I do have a couple of notes on here. We had all of the cacophony of Smile, and most of the Wrecking Crew guys were on that stuff. Now we're down to Brian had recently obtained what they call a Baldwin theater organ, and there's all kinds of pictures of the place. That famous one I told you that they took to Hawaii after they recorded Smiley Smile. He loved it so much he had it flown over there for the concert. But just that organ, a funky, I forget, a Chickering piano. Marilyn bought it for him about this time, but he had a guy come in and do a special tuning job on it that was for Brian's ear. But any of my musician buddies who have a real sensitive ear to that, or even if they don't have a real, because I notice it too, the piano is funky sounding. And it's tuned. It's almost detuned, That's what I would. And then a P bass and just percussion they would pick up. There's other stuff in there, but that's basically what Brian and Carl did to make they use very, very minimal instruments and almost no production. But then another interesting aspect of it is they didn't have click tracks back then. And these a lot of them sound like they're singing a cappella. But what Brian did in the beginning was make a piano track on that funky piano that got mixed out at the end so that they would have the timing to sing to on some of these chant things that sound like they're a cappella. So Brian made a little click track, for them to sing to, so they would have reference.
That's cool.
It is. It's, this album is also part Smile, part Beach Boys Party.
Oh, okay.
You say the messiness and the, not a lot of attention to detail, or, just kind of leaving stuff raw.
Like there's no, even, I can't remember what song, but it's almost like it feels like a joke.
Well, yeah.
Parts what I mean?
Parts of it are supposed to be funny. It's on that humor thing of Brian's too, obviously. Do want to say Bruce is not participating much on Smiley Smile. Where he's into everything. And for some reason, he's not into Smiley. He doesn't do too much on that. He's obviously on Good Vibrations and I think Heroes and Villains, maybe but the rest of it, he didn't participate. He also didn't go to Hawaii with them in August. Brian went, which was not normal, right? Maybe it's because Brian went that Bruce didn't go, but it seems as though to me, old Bruce distanced himself a little bit at this period. I remember a long time ago reading something he said about Smiley Smile, and it didn't seem real favorable, but I've seen things he said lately, and he goes, that's actually an incredible record, and so,
Does he, I'm sure we'll get into, does he come back around for Wild Honey?
Well, he's never out. He's just
not really
not participating.
Got it. Okay.
No,
okay,
yeah.
Okay.
He's just, for some reason, during this little thing after Smile fell apart and then before it's just kind of, he put some distance between himself.
Got it. But he's not gone.
He's not gone at all. And the other thing about this that's so crazy is someone noticed early on that it had a soothing effect on people, and it was used at an LSD clinic in Fort Worth, Texas, to help people come down. And
like the album as a whole?
Yes. I mean, maybe, but just something about the soothing quality of the plain vocal, or I heard it called a chill out album or something. But I knew this was well known way back a long time ago. I read that about the LSD clinic in Fort Worth where they were using it so it has that little weird history in there too. Yeah,
that's interesting. That's definitely.
Some people, it seemed like it sent them running off a cliff.
Yeah, for sure.
If they were in that state, So anyway, there's kind of your Smiley Smile context. I hope I haven't forgotten too much about what was going on, but they only just a few weeks at Brian's house churned it out, and they said that Jim Lockhart mixed it in one day, and the way they mixed it was just crazy. And the second engineer said, I've never seen miracles before, but I saw it tonight.
Wow.
And they just got it out, mixed it and got it done. So
I guess that, probably should mention that we do have the complete history context in season 1, what the episode would be. I'll
bet you I just revealed some more context than I did in that one. Yeah, okay. But it would be a good thing to go back and check that episode.
If you're following along and go, this is, you haven't listened to season 1, this would be the part.
We definitely give a lot more history on things like pulling out of the Monterey Pop Festival, right? That was another thing that happened in between Smile and Carl got in trouble because he refused to go into the draft. All this stuff was happening about this time, and so you're going to get a lot of that in other.
And that's why I don't remember a lot of things, everybody, is because there's a lot, a lot that I've learned in the last couple of years here. So that's why I didn't even remember. I didn't even remember the episode, which I normally check, but like I said, just kind of slipped my mind there. But can we get into the
tunes? Absolutely.
Tracks? Okay, so Heroes and Villains. So you answered this question earlier. This isn't the first time people would be hearing this because they released it as a single.
As a single, but maybe people hadn't. Maybe
heard the single.
Yeah, but it was just a couple months before.
And this is one of the ones. I couldn't tell if there was a difference. Is there a difference?
Oh, there's a huge difference. There's no cantina section. Okay. Just the regular sections are so similar that if you're not, the thing is with Heroes and Villains, you're pretty familiar with it.
Yes.
What's that show that you said is the theme?
Oh my gosh.
There's some.
Gosh, what is the name of that?
So.
Anyway, it's an Amazon Prime, one of like the biggest shows right there. Bad Guys, no, that's not it. Anyway, it's where the heroes are. Some of the heroes are actually villains. So,
right. Okay. But anyway, you are familiar with that song.
The Boys. Okay, there it is. The Boys. There it is.
And so I feel like it had already been part of your subconscious. And so even though you heard all the cantina stuff on Smile, in the middle of it, it wasn't a part of your regular heroes and villains landscape.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
it is quite a bit different from what it would have been on Smile.
Interesting. That's interesting because there's other songs on here where it's like it's blatantly different. Where this one, I was like, it might be different, but I don't know. I can't really tell. Even like kind of going back and forth. Granted,
but you didn't notice that in the cantina, margaritas keep the spirit high.
and what part of the song is that?
That's in the middle.
In the middle,
of
and
heroes and villains.
And that was one thing if I couldn't identify right away, like with the other songs, I just assumed like, okay, like I didn't let it go all the way through to where like, okay, I'm listening to each part and then going, okay, this isn't in the middle. This is in the middle.
Maybe,
you know what I
okay.
mean? Because by the time it's like almost like by the time I would get to the middle, I'd already forgotten, you know what I mean? Like it was tricky to go back and forth when it already felt very similar.
Suffice to say, Van Dyke said he didn't even recognize it when it came out.
Oh,
he had
wow.
no idea it was going to be edited that way.
Oh, okay.
And so it was a surprise to him.
And I don't feel, like any less of a listener because I couldn't identify it. You know what I mean?
Right.
It for me, it was just
well. What I'm getting of what you're saying is that you were listening to the songs and you probably listened to a point to where you thought this is the same.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where on the other ones, the differences
are out of the gate.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there are some like there's other tunes in here that he uses parts of Smile on the actual Smile, like Vegetables starts with the new version of Vegetables, but halfway in the middle he splices in a bunch of Vegetables that would have been on Smile.
And when you say splices in, this is actually pulling.
Oh yeah,
like
he
actually
just takes
pulling
the
that
tape.
recording and put it in.
And much of this album is made that way. It's still, even though it's simpler music, he's making it all. They're making it in pieces, and then even on the simple chants and things like that, they're like mixing it in pieces and putting it together. Like, they're not recording it as a piece. Mm-hmm. So it's a modular, still modular,
Sure.
but not real fancy.
Yeah.
But the other thing about the Heroes and Villains single version, to me, it just sounds, compared to Good Vibrations, it sounds so muddy.
Yeah.
It's not a clear, there's so much going on in that track. And then when you hear the mono version of Heroes and Villain, that track in the back it is really just a bunch of mud, behind those vocals. And I was really shocked when I did hear bootlegs for the first time where they were exposed a lot of that. Mm-hmm. But so that aspect of it was a little bit different for me. This is the one that he asked the astrologer, when should I release it, and he waited and then went to the radio station. They wouldn't put it out, and it, all part of the deal. We went over the music completely in Smile for this version too. It's, the thing that's, it starts out the album, so it's a pretty grand production. Mm-hmm. And then we get right into Vegetables, which nobody's ever heard before.
So this is something that people are hearing for the first time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, like I said, right from the beginning, you can hear the difference in the intro. It's kind of weird for this one. Almost feels, this is like the one exception that can almost feel a little more polished to me, which is kind of interesting because it's not, but it kind of, I don't know. There was something about it that was just like, it seemed a little more finished. I don't know. Well,
part of it's because that end of what they took the Smile tapes on the end and put that on there, and it really did make it so it's kind of that from the middle to the end, it's a lot more polished than a lot of stuff on Smile. But it opens with just Carl playing the P bass. One of my favorite things about it when they say jump, he jumps on the bass. He skips a note, jump up, because he's playing chord, boom, 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 because it's one chord all the time. Boom, 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 boom. I jump, and he misses one note on purposely because it's a jump. I want people to listen to that.
That's cool.
But also on Vegetables, at the very beginning, the Smiley Smile stuff, it's the first time people are hearing this really dry vocal sound. And especially when they go into the chorus. And it's only like a 2 or 3 part harmony. It's so beautiful. Let's play a little bit of the beginning of Vegetables. Just to hear that, because that's where everybody's going, wow, this is dry.
I'm gonna be around my vegetables. I'm gonna chow down my vegetables. I love
Just Carl.
you most of all.
And they're singing in unison, no harmony yet.
Vegetable. If you
Here we go.
brought a big brown bag of them home, I'd jump up and down and
Cool.
hope you'd
Very cool.
toss
Now
me
right here, the
a
harmony to
carrot.
dry.
I'm gonna keep well my vegetables card.
They're sitting right here in this bedroom singing to you. And there's
Dry meaning no reverb.
no reverb, no processing. This is them just naturally singing. This is how good it is.
That's pretty cool.
I tried to kick the
And the famous celery and carrot. Now, this isn't Paul McCartney, and he probably wasn't even the chomping on Smile that people hope, but he was at a Smile vegetable session. Anyway, let's go ahead.
Cool. I'm glad you pointed those things out.
And actually, I think let's go ahead and have you play what I call that beautiful section off of it too, which is coming right up. Maybe scrub up a little bit. It might be coming up. If we get Chomp. Yeah, here we go. So this is, everybody knows it's one of my favorite moments, but Brian in the group here.
I know that you
This is from Smile. Everything from here.
send us in your letter and tell us the name of your favorite vegetable.
And then here's Al. And then
I know that you
hear all the instruments.
you send us in your letter and tell
And they're making horse noises. Yeah.
your favorite vegetable.
The whinny. But that's all Smile stuff right there.
Okay.
The music, it's a simple song.
Yeah,
It's a simple
yeah.
song, but I love
But
Van
they're-
Dyke's lyrics on it. It's a fun tune. I've always liked it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and like I said in the last episode, great music with goofy lyrics. That's kind of how, and that's funny that you would make a song, about that. So,
Yeah, and then we've talked about he was just starting to get into the health. He was hearing
Yeah.
about it, and so he was kind of
Jumping
going to
on
be
board.
front and center on this craze. Then we get into what I'm proud of myself because I figured this out, as a lot of other nerds probably did too. But this is Fire. Fall breaks and back to winter. Remember I told you that Fire
Yeah.
is on here.
I didn't remember you said that, but I did catch that. I did catch that, and I don't even consider myself the biggest
yeah,
nerd.
good.
But I did catch that.
The bass line is there. The chords are essentially the same.
I have written down aspects of Fire with the question mark.
No, and so this is when Brian finished, when he did Fire and all the buildings burned down and all that shit, and he said he was going to destroy the tapes, and he was telling somebody, I don't have to do a big scary fire like that. I can just do a candle. So this one, I want you to play it from the beginning. I'm going to give people my visual on this. This is a guy in a little old haunted house someplace, and he's got his nightcap and his bedrobe on, and he's kind of creeping up the stairs with a little candle holder, and he's got a little candle, and it's something you might see in a cartoon or a Scooby-Doo cartoon or something like that. Are you with me on this or something like that? Yeah. So that's what this
Visual
is.
for you.
Not the accordion Woody Woodpecker stuff. We're going to talk about that in a second, but
Okay.
Fall breaks and back
Here
to
we
winter.
go. From the beginning.
And there's those vocals from
Yeah.
Fire that weren't. This is that guy. This is less menacing now. Or it's actually kind of pleasant. And there's Woody Wood. You think, why is that stuff in it? So to me, it is a candle instead of a great big fire.
Yeah.
So anyway,
So so it wasn't like, I was wondering. I did forget that you had said that there was a version of Fire on there. But when that came on, I was like, and I didn't actually go back and check myself on that. I didn't go listen to Fire and be like, is this so? I just wrote down, are there, aspects
very
of Fire.
good.
But, my other.
How about that? I mean, that's like, who even thinks to put that?
I wrote that and I said, what do we have here? Like, what do we got going on here? So,
the other thing is I want to talk about is the idea. Okay, so it's really called Fall Breaks and Back to Winter, in parentheses, the Woody Woodpecker Symphony.
What's going on there?
Okay, so that organ part, or the accordion part that is overdubbed over the top of it is just playing these random little things. Do you remember the Woody Woodpecker theme?
Yeah.
That's what it's playing, the Woody Woodpecker theme. I think it's laying that over the top of the track is giving the dark track a little bit more levity.
Got it. Okay.
Something funny and lighthearted, cartoon-wise, like Woody Woodpecker over the top of, but Fall Breaks and Back to Winter, I love that title because that's, it gets the fire thing across in a much more subtle way.
Yeah.
Going into the darkness of the year.
I see it.
You know what I mean? So the whole thing is pretty crafty.
Yeah.
The title, I mean, who sat around there and dreamed that up?
Yeah. No, for sure.
And then, I mean, obviously had to be lots of drugs involved who's sitting back. Van Dyke's gone. They can't blame it on him anymore.
Yeah.
It's just been Brian sitting there going, hey, it'd be really cool. Let's have somebody play Woody Woodpecker.
Yeah.
Let's do it on, it's just random ideas, And then I do want to say again, the vocals that you hear here, they have been used over the top of the Fire track on the official releases of like Brian in 2004 and the 2011 box set. They take those vocals. And I knew that they always fit over the top of the Fire track. I knew that would work. But I don't think that the original Fire would have had those vocals in it. I think that that's a decision that was made down the line. Oh, this works, so let's go ahead and throw those vocals from Smiley Smile on the original Fire track. You know what I mean? That's my idea of what happened there.
Got it.
So anyway...
Okay,
Fall breaks.
And so before we get into the next track, we should probably give a little, little disclaimer.
Remember, I'm shy and I embarrass easily. So talking about any of this stuff.
So we have talked about drug use before. We have maybe briefly talked about some, brief sexual content, but there is sexual content in this next song. And so if the kids are around, earmuffs or send them to another room.
Or somebody sensitive that doesn't want to hear any, like me, that would rather sit it out.
Yeah, there are chapters for a reason. You can skip the She's Going Bald and go right to Little Pad if you don't want to hear the sexual content. Okay. So
so She's Going Bald gets... I'll go ahead. You talk first.
I mean, my first thing is Betty. I did Betty with an exclamation point because Betty was a big part of our, getting the lighting right when we first started. She was our little.
Oh yeah, we used her for the sit-in.
So before I even knew the context of Betty, Betty was we would use her so that we could get the shading right and all that stuff. And but will you remind me? Betty, how
I was just going to say that's fine. Yeah, because I think we've told that story before, but my mom used to have an antique store, and Betty was in her antique store, I think, for a little while, but my mom had a blue Cadillac for a while, and for some damn reason, she put Betty sideways up in the back glass and just drove around. I don't think she did it for anything. She just needed some place to put it. She didn't know how funny it looked.
Oh, okay.
So I just got, and finally I just said, give me that damn thing. I want that mannequin. Yeah. And so at my music store in Meridian, we called her Bronco Betty for the BSU Broncos, and we put a blue wig on her and a Bronco hat, and I had dormer windows in one of the old houses up there, and we put her in the center dormer window. And the lady that owns that Eppie's Basque restaurant in Meridian, one time when I went in, she goes, "Matthew, that lady that you have up, she's scary. You need to take her down," you know? So anyway, but she started out as Bronco Betty. But when I started, I like odd things like that anyway. I love antiques, and a lot of the stuff in here is from my mom's antique shops.
Okay.
So anyway, she became part of the Beach Boy room. She's going bald. Betty's bald. I always thought, that's Betty.
Okay. And so, there's no mannequin connection with the Beach Boys, and
no
like shot of a mannequin.
No, not at all.
This is just you.
This is just me.
A bald woman.
I got a bald. Yeah. And when I think I spontaneously, one of my buddies from New York was here, and I was showing them the place, and they go, "What's that?" And I said, "That's a girl from She's Going Bald." Oh yeah.
Okay. And I see, she wears, can wear the glasses.
Oh, sometimes she's usually wearing reading glasses that I just need to know where a pair are, so I can go steal them from Betty if I need them. And then that's my favorite. That's about a 30-year-old set of headphones. That's my preferred set of headphones to listen on. And so if I need, I just go borrow them from Betty.
Okay, there we go. Yeah. All right, so
there you go, Betty.
Let's get.
Let me talk about it.
Yeah, let's let you go. I mean, I don't have a lot on it. It was just an interesting track to me. This is where I feel like things start to feel like a joke.
Yeah,
because
but it's really, it's a neat piece of art, and it is funny art. This started life as a song called "He Gives Speeches." It was about a public speaker that Brian and Van Dyke wrote. It's on the Smile box set. But Mike Love gets this is the only time you're going to see Brian Wilson, Van Dyke Parks, and Mike Love together in a writing credit. The guy that criticized over and over the crow cries. Well, it's because Mike Love helped turn this song into a song about a blowjob.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just get right down to it. I never knew that as a kid. Me and John, because we got it so young. The part in the middle where they speed up the vocal, that's actually a machine. One of our listeners in comments, I think from the Smiley Smile episode before, because I mentioned it there, he said I can't remember exactly what kind of a machine it is, but it was used in a Stanley Kubrick film too that he mentioned. It was pretty cutting edge for that time. But John and our cousins, the Hartz and Jones cousins, they said we would just love to play that sped up part, and we didn't know what it was. We just thought it sounded funnier than hell, So we just laugh and just giggle. But I think you can look up. It's an interview from 1976, and I've seen it in print, but I don't think I've seen video of it. Maybe there's not video, but they're talking to all of the Beach Boys. Brian's even there, but gets irritated and leaves and goes to his bedroom. But Dennis and Carl and Mike and Al are sitting there, and somehow the conversation gets to Smiley Smile. This is about 10 years after that, and somebody mentions maybe it was Mike that said something about, and then we got, songs about blowjob, or, some people think that She's Going Bald is about a blowjob. And Dennis he goes, well, that's what it was, wasn't it? It's like they were, all the humor and everything was kind of sophisticated to the level as it's vague enough to it. Well, I think that's what it was. I'm pretty sure that's what it was, wasn't it? But nobody ever came right out and said it.
Yeah, sure, right.
And so that's funny. That dialogue, if you can look, I know there's a Kingsley Abbott book that he put together that has a bunch of articles, and I know that's in there. The book's called Back to the Beach, but it's got some great interviews, and that one is in there. But I mean, nobody can say they weren't part of it because the vocals rotated to damn near everybody. I mean, you get Mike is in there. Well, especially You're Too Late, Mama, Ain't Nothing Upside Your Head, the doo-wop part on the end. It's just, let's play a little bit of it. She's Going Bald.
And we talked about maybe doing it from. Do you want me to go from the beginning or from like?
Yeah, let's let it go from the beginning.
Silken hair, more silken hair fell on her face, and no wind was blowing.
And an organ.
Silken hair, more silken hair lay near her pillbox.
The vocals are pretty intricate, you know.
Oh yeah.
I think I hear Bruce. Dennis.
She'd lost her hair. I thought I would change going when she saw her shining forehead.
So nobody could say they didn't participate. Now, Brian, I went.
So hard I blew my mind. I blew my cool. I
And Mike.
blew myself over.
Here's the special machine, and you guys tell me what this represents. Doesn't mess with the time. It's still 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. This is get a job. Yeah, blow. And this is kind of like it's over.
She drew a comb across her scalp and brushed
Ow.
what she had left. I tried to salvage what I could and threw it in a sack.
That might be
She made a
Brian.
beeline
That's
to her
Brian.
room and grabbed all kind of juice. She started pouring it on her head and thought it'd grow it back.
You're too late, mama. Enough.
That's cool shit. I don't care. The singing is awesome.
Yeah, the singing is awesome.
And because they don't have a way to manipulate it or make it.
Upside your head. You're too late, mama.
I love that.
Upside your head.
Anyway.
But that, how high, like how that high pitched voice that they do. That's the part that, like, to me feels like a joke, kind of like it's like, I don't know. That makes it feel like yeah, like they're just having fun. You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
there's just always that falsetto. Part of it is getting that part in there, you know.
But
Falsetto music.
yeah, but there's I don't feel like I've heard them sing in a high like that before.
It's just not in the style.
Okay, so
You've
that's
heard
what I mean.
them sing higher than that.
Yeah, but I guess it's that style that makes it feel like
Yeah,
we're just,
real,
you know,
real
just-
dry
just, you know.
and real bendy. There's some people that say that music on what I call the trilogy albums, it sounds effeminate.
Oh, okay.
Has a, you know, like I had guys a friend in Texas. I was listening to Wild Honey one time. He goes, that sounds like a bunch of, you know, what, you know.
Well, what a Texan would say.
Yeah. Are those guys real men?
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
sorts of things.
Yeah.
And so, but Brian was unafraid of being that guy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
Straight as straight could be. They all were.
Yeah, but when I guess that's just my point is that the hearing it done like that, you know, almost feel that effeminate's a good way to put it.
And you're gonna hear a lot
Does that
more of
start to
this.
happen?
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
Okay, cool.
And basically that music on She's Going Bald is basically just mantra stuff. G flat dum dum in the key of G flat dum dum, A flat minor do dum, then D flat and just repeat dum bum 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 bum. That's all it is, but it is in the key of G flat.
Oh, is there an aspect of that kind of has what's the other one? Oh, right after this, it's like kind of like Hawaiian style.
Okay, yeah.
Is that and that's kind of a little Hawaiian?
Well, there's a little bit of that in
Almost feel like
a lot
you
of the tunes on the album. Well, there's a ukulele on some stuff and that comes after in the song after this. So let's but because of Do You Like Worms and the Hawaiian sound and stuff on Smile, I think it migrated in certain ways over to the Smiley Smile stuff, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, for sure.
So there's that song. We could so the parental warning can kind of go off, except for then we get into.
But this is more into not sexual content. The sexual content that's over.
This is about blatant drug use on a record in 1967 that Capitol Records put out.
And so and just I feel like this quite literally is a continuation of the joke of like the joking feel of like I don't know if joking's the right word, but like just like I don't know, like there's I guess kind of like you said, that's something that's
it's just
lighthearted, less serious.
And, yes.
This,
this is not Pet Sounds. Pet Sounds is serious music.
Exactly.
Most of Smile was serious, focused music. This is treating everything with a lot of levity.
Yeah.
With a lot of lightheartedness. And that's he wanted to do that. He wanted to get in that
beginning,
mood.
there's like the laugh, you know.
Yeah,
like,
that's what they wanted. He wanted to be in a happier place.
Yeah.
So anyway, we go to this, and I believe very much it's Brian has taken a hit, and he's probably talking to Carl. And he says, "Do it," and or maybe Mike, because Mike is the one that starts singing, and then as he starts singing, he can't help but either coughs or something, and the smoke comes out accidentally, and he's laughing while it's coming out. Basically, that's my full explanation of it.
Is this your theory, or
that's kind of my theory? That's me listening to it.
Has there been any? Okay,
no.
This is your theory. You think?
I've never heard it. Well, I know. It's Brian that says "do it." And then he's the guy, if I home. That's Brian.
Yeah.
That's Brian. He's directing as he's taking a hit of weed. He's directing and do it. And then, maybe thinking this isn't going to be on it, we can cut that do it out. But then once he does that, they probably thought they had ruined the take and then listened back to it and said, nah, fuck it, let's keep it in.
Yeah. No, that's... Okay, that's cool. That's your. Do we want to listen to that?
I do want to. I actually want to listen to quite a bit of this track because it is the most. This is some of the most beautiful music on the album.
This is my favorite music.
This is I listen. Little Pad's on all my favorites.
Yeah, this is a good one here.
Because some people think somebody said this is Do You Like Worms? I don't see any relationship to Do You Like Worms. Do You Like Worms actually comes later in Whistling. But anyway, let's
listen to it real quick.
So right out of the gate, we've got, what I was talking about.
Okay.
If I only had a little in Hawaii.
And they're probably going to get rid of it, right? And here comes the real music. Beautiful. It's got the piano and the organ too there, and that little steel guitar thing. Love the finger snaps. And then ukulele played by Lyle Ritz. I have a story about this. And here we go. This is Carl. That organ. And then there's another. They didn't do that live. That's just a splice from probably the same one. It's like they were working with Pro Tools.
Right, yeah.
Okay, I want to let it keep going. Same two. The only difference this time is it'll be Brian singing the solo, and I want you to hear the little sawing noise as he's building his hut.
Oh, okay.
Because by the sea...
By the sea, that's where I'll build a pad in Hawaii.
Sawing the wood to build his pad.
Such a small little thing.
Right on. Let's just let it play. Now, let Good Vibrations start, if it's coming right now.
Yeah, it's coming up.
You hear that? Little pad ended on the same... So even that probably had some like, okay, little pad will work even though it's ending side 2 and that goes into side 1. Good vibrations. But it is beautiful music. The guy playing ukulele is Lyle Ritz, who played.
Wait, you say in side 2?
Little pad's the end of side 1.
Okay.
Good vibrations start side 2. Sorry, my dyslexia probably got me there. Lyle Ritz, the guy who plays upright bass on a lot of their stuff, is also a really great ukulele player, and he's playing ukulele here. I got to teach at a camp with two ukulele players who studied with him and knew him really well, and they gave me a lot of insight on this stuff. So it's so super cool.
That is cool. That is cool.
But it's beautiful, beautiful music. Again, in the key of G flat, and then in E. So let's see. Sure would like to have a little pad, D flat 7, and then in A flat minor side, and then go up to same thing with the minor third and the bass. That's what's happening there. Then key of E. F sharp minor 7, B, change the key to F sharp. Same thing in a different key. Then we get to the really cool part where we go dun dun dun. So that's G flat, then G flat diminished. Dun 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 dun. Then E flat minor, da 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 da. E flat fully diminished, da 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 da. A flat minor, and then a B minor, but Lyle's doing a kind of a lick in there, kind of make it almost like a minor 6 chord in there. So let me do that again. Dun 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 dun. Dun dun dun. And then they're back to the dun 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 Hawaii. I love that thing on the end, just an inversion of that minor chord, and it took me a while to figure out what they were doing there. Like, oh, that basic. That's a beautiful song and one of my favorites. I already said it before. So.
Yeah, and I, like you said, the music and
I love that intro. I love that they did that. There's
the fact that, like you said, like it's just like this, like joking, funny, thing to this just beautiful, song. That's it's cool. So then, like we said, we go into Good Vibrations. This is the first time it's seen on a full album, correct?
Yes, okay. And Brian, where he might have wanted it on Smile, fought with the guys and the record companies. I do not want it on Smiley Smile, but I think the band outvoted him and the record company because it had been so. They knew it would help sell the record.
Sure, right? Sure. Do we need to go into anything?
No,
here?
We did all because this is exactly
same.
This is the exact same tune from from Smile, but it never really was from Smile. It was just a single. But we've already been over. So if you want to know more about the music to Good Vibrations, go back to the Smile episode, folks.
With Me Tonight.
Okay, so this is a chant that maybe was started during the Smile sessions, but it's generally thought of to be just a Smiley Smile thing.
Yeah, I love obviously the Carl vocals on it.
Yeah,
so good. Yeah.
So much of the vocals. Where's my original Smiley Smile? God, record's falling out of it. It's cool. There's a lot of side 2. Good Vibrations featuring Carl. With Me Tonight featuring Carl. Wonderful featuring Carl. Whistling featuring Carl. There's a lot of Carl on it. I think it says Carl on Little Pad too.
Why did they do it? Why did they list it like that?
Well,
Was that common? Were they doing that on
remember,
the-
this is the first album that Brian said, I don't want it to say produced by Brian Wilson. I want it to say produced by the Beach Boys, even though he did produce it. And he produced Wild Honey, and he just didn't want the responsibility.
Okay.
And maybe this is showing the record buying public that other people are taking responsibility for things. But remember, they've already done this on albums before, like on the back of the concert album, it says Brian lead vocal or Mike lead vocal or Carl lead guitar. And then on Summer Days and Summer Nights, it has the lead vocalist on all of it.
But does it list it like featuring or
No.
Okay.
No,
So
no,
I think that's the whole, because featuring now would be like someone who's actually not in the band is featured on that track, which is.
But
just
that's
back
the way
then.
it would have
Yeah.
been back then.
Then,
It's just like, okay, this is it. He's
It's
got
featuring
most
Carl
of the solo
because-
spots are Carl.
Yeah, got it.
So let's see. So this it's a neat little chant. On the surface, the music doesn't look like too much, but with Little Pad, notice we had some diminished chords in there, and I tell you how rare those things are in pop music, and even rarer is augmented chords. But along about the time of the Christmas album and was it Shut Down Volume 2 or All Summer Long, where he's just going crazy with augmented chords? Well, anyway, we get it. It's in F. With me tonight. There's a C augmented right out of the. So with me tonight. I know you're with the normal move. With me tonight. I know you're with me tonight. But it's just he's sharpening that 5. With me tonight. I know you're with me tonight, D minor, then take the 4. With me tonight, I know you're with me tonight, for sure you're with me tonight, I know you're with me tonight. On and on you go down, you go down, with me. Right there, that one chord gives it a little bit of dimension, and it's just they might have been popular on the also or the Christmas album and around that time for Brian for Brian Wilson, but they weren't popular for anybody else in popular music.
Yeah,
he's just the guy that was going to use the chords that he wanted to use no matter what.
Yeah.
And so and then also in the middle of it, their friend Arnie Geller, who was, there was another friend that was around all the time, but they were kind of guys that would help in the studio and just associated with the band. I think they even went out on the road with a little bit. Arnie, I think one of them suggested, or they wrote the liner notes for Wild Honey. But anyway, you hear in the middle of this, it goes, you hear good. Well, what that was is Arnie Geller was in the control room and they had sung a part of it, just on and on she go down to on and on she go down on and on she go, maybe sang that a few bars of that, and they stopped, and then he didn't say in that time, but he said you could hear good, and Brian addresses that in an interview. He goes, what was this guy said good? And he goes, oh, that was our friend Arnie Geller. He was just in the control room. He said we thought it sounded good, so we just let it in there.
yeah. Back to that rawness.
Yeah. And so that's where that comes from. Yeah. Then we get into the most radical of the reworkings from Smile.
Yeah. I'm just going to let you go ahead on this one.
Wind Chimes. Yeah. I told you this morning that what I wanted to do was start by playing a snippet from Smile, first of all. Just a little bit of the beginning of Smile from Wind Chimes from Smile.
Okay, here it is.
Here comes old Carl.
Hanging down from my window.
I actually think that's Brian and Carl together. Carl singing the Brian's guide vocal. Prove me wrong, folks.
On a warm breeze, the little bells tinkle like wind.
Okay. Oh, wait, actually, one more part. I like this.
Though it's hard, I try.
I love that climb, right?
My wind chimes.
Oh, actually, let's let it go to Now and Then.
Now and then a tear rolls off my
Cut it. Now play that much of the Smiley.
Hanging down from my window.
That's Brian.
Those are
Mike.
my wind chimes.
So different.
Wind chimes. In the late
Carl.
afternoon, you're
Dennis.
on wind chimes. Wind chimes. Though it's hard,
think it's
I
Al.
try not to look at my wind chimes. Now and then a tear rolls on my cheek.
Okay. Go ahead and cut it.
Breeze the little bell.
How
I mean,
that's his. I mean, one quote Dennis had on the Smiley Smile version of Wind Chimes. Somebody said, he said, "Well, just listen to Wind Chimes off Smiley Smile. Nobody sings like that.
yeah.
Nobody. What is that?
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
what we're doing. So it goes from on Smile. It's in a major key. And so it's got a happier, it's a happy sounding, it's a breezy, happy sounding. I think I said, man, what a breezy tune. It ain't breezy here, man. It basically just taking it into a minor key and just doing some musical alterations. Believe it or not, it's essentially the same. B minor. Let's see. What are the opening lines? Hanging down from my window. So that's B minor to B minor with an A in the bottom. And then we've got E with G sharp. And then quickly to E minor, G in the bottom. And then probably F sharp 7 and back to B minor. So it's in a minor key. I want to say that this is all kind of, this one's almost rubato in spots, and that there is no time to it. He kind of takes it out of because it kind of stays here. Hey, this hanging down from my window. Those are my wind chimes, wind chimes, wind chimes. It's kind of like he's just playing the organ chords through there, and they're almost as if there's no time to it there. And then in the late afternoon, you're hung up on wind chimes, wind chimes, and then so we got A with the C sharp in the bottom here. Though it's hard, and then just a D, but D with the A in the bottom. And again, these inversions are so important to Brian's music, as are the specific voicings, which we'll see at the next go. So that's A with C sharp in the bottom. Though it's hard, D with an A in the bottom, and then we're gonna just call this straight up E7. But the voicing is important. At first, I was like thinking, God, that's like a F diminished chord with an E in the bottom. That doesn't even make sense, but I think it's a straight. And then quickly F sharp minor, and then B. So I'm going to go ahead and play that again. Though it's hard, I try not to look at my wind chimes. And then now and then a tear rolls off my D, the organ thing. And then I think Carl comes back in. On a warm breeze, the little bells tinkle like wind chimes, wind chimes, wind chimes. And I think it goes through that again. But then we get to the end, and it goes, oh, wind chimes, tinkling, tingling, tingling, tingling. That's one of those is Dennis. Oh, wind chimes, tingling, tingling, tingling. It's just strange music. You know,
Can you
even come up with it is.
Can you play that? Sorry again from the beginning, but can you not? I want to hear it without the vocals.
Okay,
a
sure.
bit.
And then
and you did that thing with this song where I wasn't the biggest fan of this version, and I mean obviously the music's similar in both versions, but
I'm not. This is one where I definitely prefer the Smile version.
But this,
this is so, but it's musically so interesting.
Well, and that is very, especially just right there, and that's why I started to hear it when you were playing it and you were singing it, and I was like, wow, the music is actually there's a lot of imagery when you just kind of you kind of lose that with all the vocals that are going on, but when you played it right there, I was like, oh man, I'm getting like a lot of like imagery with this with the music here. So that's why I asked you to do that. That's why I asked you to do that.
A
right
lot.
there.
That's, you know what? People said that about Pet Sounds for years, especially the original mono version. You can't hear all the intricacies of the music because of the vocals are so pushed to the fore, and they're so thick and so good and become the focus of the record so much that you don't realize music. You just don't. That's when I heard Stack of Tracks for the first time and really hearing some of these, go, oh my god, there's a lot going on in these tracks. Yeah,
and so even you, as someone with the musical ear that you have, even you before Stack of Tracks.
Oh yeah, before I could hear the thing. No, I didn't. I didn't know that the intro to "Wouldn't It Be Nice" had been recycled into the bridge until I heard Stack of Tracks for the first time.
Yeah,
that's it. You think that should be pretty blatant. I was pretty young, but I didn't know.
Yeah,
there's lots of it. It's all these box sets like Sailor and Sailor and Feel Flows. It's all those tracks have surprises in them for me.
Yeah.
Things I've never heard before because of the vocals being over the top.
Totally. Cool. That was very cool. Thank you. Gettin Hungry.
Gettin Hungry. Okay. This is another thing that was going on at this time. It was the Beach Boys were suing Capitol Records for production royalties for Brian. It amounted to about $250,000 or something like that. And so Capitol wasn't really happy with them anyway. And part of the deal was they wanted out of their contract early. They didn't want to go through clear till 1969 or whenever the contract was for. And there was all kinds of stuff going on. So Smiley Smile. Oh, good. Got my props ready. And this is my original one. Please forgive the tape, but that's what happened.
It's authentic.
But this is the only Beach Boys album of this period that's going to have the Brother record label on it. When Wild Honey comes out, it's back to the Capitol black with the rainbow swirl around it.
And then we see that with what?
That comes on in the 70s.
Right, okay.
You start to see that on the Reprise stuff. But this was... This is Brother Records. This was part of the deal. They were going to... we're going to put out Smiley Smile now, and we're going to do it on our own label, but Capitol's going to distribute it. I think it still has a Capitol number. ST9001. So this is the only one of the 60s albums that actually came out with a Brother Records label on it. So it was Brother distributed by Capitol. But this tune coming up here was also not going to be a Beach Boys single. It was attributed only to Brian Wilson and Mike Love.
Oh.
And it was not a Smile tune, obviously. They performed it live. I've heard them doing it live, and all the Beach Boys are on it. It's kind of funny. It was just part of the marketing at the time. Hey, we're going to put this out on Brother Records, and let's put this out as just me and Mike. And I think that those... because everything was different, everything was changing, right? And I think that's why some of these decisions got made. Caroline No got put out as a Brian Wilson single, before Pet Sounds. But so there's not much to this, but it's still it's a funny tune, and the sections. So, let's see. Oh, it starts with the organ, the funky organ. Down, 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 down. That's in B, that's B and E. And then we're going to C sharp minor, dun, dun. Then a G sharp minor with a D in the bass. That sun can get so hot that you can sweat your strength away. And then do a straight up just C sharp major. Turn it into minor. And then F sharp 7. Getting hungry, back to B. Hungry from my kind of woman. I'm getting hungry. Soon I gotta find me a woman. So it's easy musically. Kind of a funky little tune. Reminds me of some stuff coming up on Wild Honey. The thing that gets me about it is the two sections are out of tune with each other. So I want to play a little bit of Getting Hungry because you can hear it, especially when they go back into the chorus out of the verse. Go ahead and start it from the get-go. I love that, though. The sound of the bass is cool, too.
I wake up in
Abrupt
the
splice.
morning just to work all through the day.
Those
That
random
sun can
things.
get so hot that you can sweat your string.
Brian and Mike together.
And
Oh, no, just Brian.
oh, come the night.
Okay, now listen right here, folks. It's just a little bit off. It's about a quarter of a tone off, and it bothers me enough. Okay, that's anyway. We're gonna go ahead and kill it.
Okay, so but the so you're saying that there's just a slight tuning issue there? Is that what you?
Yeah. It's because they recorded the sections separately, and in those days they were probably using an organ that was a little bit out of tune, and they tuned to that, or whatever. But
Something I would never notice.
Yeah, but
like you said,
like I say, it bothers me enough.
Enough, right? Yeah, for sure. So now to this version of Wonderful.
Yes.
And so, how do you feel about this version?
Well,
of
it's the one I heard for 20 years, and even in this muddy, you can hear the piano a little bit in there, but there's mainly piano and organ played both by Brian. So he's the guy playing the harpsichord on the other thing, and all the ideas are still there. The chord progression's the same, everything. But I knew it was, even as a little child, I knew there was something with the music of this was just otherworldly. I just didn't know what. And then as I got older, Jesus God,
right, yeah.
I was right. This thing is just a monster.
Yeah.
And then 10 years after that, heard the Smile version, and I was out of commission for months. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so
I still have an affinity for this version, and Brian likes this version too.
Oh, okay. And
Brian likes the Smiley Smile version.
Did they pull?
There's no smile.
There's no smile. They just re-recorded.
No, and they changed the key and everything.
Recorded it.
They were in D. Well, they started the tune in D flat on the record on Smile. So I don't know. I think it's in D flat, but they move it to G flat to even harder. You know. Okay. And so that's the big thing. Then in the middle, they put what is called the party section, which is I feel like it's a section that is meant to be associated with vegetables in Smile most of the time, and it's got the Heroes and Villans or the Do You Like Worms bass riff in the middle of it. But I think that was put in the middle of Wonderful to represent the meeting the girl and the boy, and they have a party.
Yeah.
And they come out of the party changed people, or anything like that. So and people are always thinking, what's Brian really saying? They go, hey, Bob, or that's Mike, where he goes, hey, Bob, a re-bob, a what, Bob, do-do, hey, Bob. And people think they can hear Brian say things like, let's go for the record. Let's or what did it say? Meditations, citation, talk about maybe good vibrations, light about there's stuff like that in there. But it's funny, the meaning. Don't you think some people think they hear, don't you think you're God in there? I don't hear that. I don't think there's any deep meaning to any of that shit. He's just coming up with those ideas pretty spontaneously. Yeah. And so I feel like there's part of what was originally going to be vegetables in the middle of the Smiley Smile Wonderful.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. All right. We did cover it we did cover it quite a bit in the last episode? Do you
Oh
wanna-
my gosh.
do we
Yeah,
need
we
to
went. There's no way that we, I mean, if you want to know about the music from Wonderful, which is absolutely insane, and we talk about how Brian didn't use any fancy jazz chords in it.
Right.
It was
Yep.
more of a earlier, like Baroque style of writing where he's using tools from that
Yeah.
to make.
Right, which we cover in the in the Smile episode. So if you want more on that one, that's where to find that. Let's get to the last track here. Last track being
Whistle in.
"Whistle In," which is is that like whistle in or whistle in? You know what I mean? That
Whistle in.
I know. That's how they have the space, but I didn't know if there was like a how they like do. They sometimes will do a play
maybe. Do you have anything else on this? It's just a chant.
Yeah, and that's yeah, it's just kind of a repetitive thing,
Right.
Not a.
Do you remember from Do You Like Worms at the very end where I always think that Brian's putting a W on the beginning of it from Smile where they say Wahalalule, Wahalalula, Kini Wakapula.
Yeah.
Wahalalule. Remember the day, remember the night, all day long. It kind of matches that thing. To me, it's taken from that chant of Do You Like Worms, the Wahalalule or Mahala. They say it's Mahala, but I hear a W in there, Wahalalule. I think that those two things are related. I think that that's where this whistling comes from, is that chant in Do You Like Worms. I might be wrong, but hey.
That's what
this is about.
Yeah.
It's for you guys to eviscerate me in the comment section. But one interesting thing about this, heard it all my life, and up until the box set in 2011, if somebody would have asked me, I'd have bet you $1 million that the chords went something like this in B. Remember the day, remember the night, all day long. Whistle and remember the dun dun da 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 dun dun all day. I would have said that either that or a two dominant all day long. But on the backing tracks, and I don't know if they changed it or if he's doing a on purpose minor major thing in there, but on the backing tracks on most of the stuff from the outtakes I hear minor instead of major there. So, and maybe they're playing minor and there's a note in the voices that's shading more of a dominant chord there, like I'm hearing, or major chord. I'm not sure, but that's when I heard that I remember that really bothering me from the box set. Going, damn, have I been hearing that wrong all my life? Or did he change it for? And I listened to it this morning. I can't really. You want to play a little bit of it and let everybody say it? So, whistle in.
Oh, there you go.
Dun, 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 dun. Whistle in.
Remember the day, remember the night, all day long.
Whistle in.
Remember the
Do
day,
a major here.
remember the night, all day long.
Now I'll do it minor.
Remember the day, remember the night, all day long.
I think it is the minor one. The more I think of it,
It's tough.
but
though.
now, you guys can. There's a moment for you that's perplexing for me in Beach Boy lore and history.
Yeah.
And there, with Whistling, we've got the end of the Smiley Smile album. This was going to be a real short episode, right?
Initially, that's what we thought for sure.
Because there's.
Yeah, but we always get carried away. I thought I would have an answer to if you should, if you're going through the Beach Boys in chronological order if you should skip Smile and go to Smiley Smile, but that still is an unanswered. I think you probably had me do it the right way.
I did it the way that it happened.
Yeah.
Is what, because I think
I
thought of it to do it this way and to do it that way, and then I thought it's going to make more sense to him musically to come out of Pet Sounds to go into that, and the Good Vibrations to hear this, and so I just decided the way it happened is the way I wanted you to listen.
Yeah,
to
and
it.
I think you could do it either. I mean, you can do it. You can still listen to it through that lens of like, okay, like you said, pretend like you haven't heard Smile when you're listening to this, and take it that and listen to it that way. It's like all these movies and shows that come out now. They're like they all have to do with like the multiverse, right? And like I'm like, there's like a little like mini multiverse of like, what if Smile came out and what if
Well, it
has
in a million other multiverses.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Ours is the only one that never came out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Those guys are saying, "Well, what if Smile never came out?"
Yeah. So it's just funny because I was like, wow, with that as like a really common theme in a lot of shows in pop culture right now. It's like, wow, there's even that kind of infused here where what if Brian didn't, not only did Smile come out, but Brian, stayed with it and was on top and didn't have the breakdown. Like, what if that happened? I just kind of, had a little tangent thought there, but that I think wraps us up. Smiley Smile. That was fun. I was very excited for that, for this episode this morning. And so
I'm excited for you Wild Honey's truly one of my favorite albums.
Yeah. And Darlin'.
Yeah, and I know that, but you're gonna like some other tunes on there too.
And I don't know Wild Honey at all.
Yeah.
I mean, other than what you said, there might be some Smile on there, but other than Darlin',
well, there's a little bit. I'm not gonna tell you where it is, but you'll know where it is when you hear it.
I've never listened to Wild Honey before this, so but Darlin' being one of my favorite songs ever of theirs, and still even going through all this, when I hear Darlin', I just love that song. So,
and then to think they made Darlin' really literally just after they got done with Smiley Smile.
Yeah.
They made the Darlin' single.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Because Smiley Smile came out in September. Well, and they made it in June. But then Wild Honey comes out in December.
Jeez.
So this whole new it's not just changing year, it's changing within months again.
Yeah. Oh, it's just crazy stuff. Okay. Thank you as always for listening, subscribing, supporting us. Appreciate it. Like you said, we're trying to do a little sprint here and trying to get a bunch out to you since there are some pretty big gaps over the summer. We're trying to make up for that for you now with that. So we will see you in the next episode with Wild Honey. Thank you.